This movie is so hilarious. Hi everybody, Anthony here from Awesome Anthony Productions. Today I'm going to give you my review of the latest horror movie from the writer of Seven, Psycho Killer. Directed by newcomer Gavin Polone and written by Andrew Kevin Walker, Psycho Killer stars Georgina Campbell as Jane, a highway patrol officer who witnesses her husband's killing at a traffic stop by the Slasher, a satanic serial killer played by James Preston Rogers. Unable to move on, Jane sets out on a cross-country road trip to find the Slasher and stop him before he kills again. Now, I usually try to have some build-up before diving into my thoughts on a movie, but man, this one sucks!
You suck!
But yet, at the same time, I loved it? Make it make sense. Oh wait, I will. Let me start with a big shocker. I love horror movies.
Oh my God, I can't believe it!
I know, total mind blower.
That is brand new information!
Especially if you've been on my channel for a while. I'm actually coming up on 4 years, which is crazy to think about. Anyway, one of my favorite horror movies of 2022 was Barbarian, and that definitely put Georgina Campbell on my radar. So when I heard about this, saw that admittedly pretty effective trailer, and learned that it was written by the guy behind Seven, 8mm, Sleepy Hollow, and 2010's criminally underrated The Wolfman, I was pretty hyped.
Let's go!
And honestly, I was also pretty into it at the beginning. It opens with appropriately creepy satanic credits, and the tension builds pretty well as Jane's husband Mike, also a highway patrol officer played by Stephen Adeklu, pulls over the Slasher. Jane stops by to check on Mike on her way home, they share some good flirty banter, and then she watches the Slasher shoot him and speed away. I'm not gonna lie, it's a hell of an opening.
I am sickened, but curious.
And it does a great job setting up Jane's vendetta and why she's gonna blindly chase after this killer. Which leads me to the one bright spot in this movie that's genuinely good, and isn't just unintentionally funny. Georgina Campbell herself. I have yet to see her in something where she doesn't turn in a great performance, and this is no different. She elevates this lackluster material,
Trash!
bringing emotional weight and a believable depiction of PTSD to this character, even if that thread is pretty much abandoned immediately after it's introduced. And for the whole 30 seconds she shares on the screen with Stephen Adeklu before he takes a bullet, they have strong chemistry. And that's about the only real praise I have for this movie. So let's talk about the real reasons I loved it, because it is not long into the runtime before this thing dives headfirst into stupid territory.
That's stupid.
The writing takes a nosedive, the editing becomes nonsensical, the kill scenes are insanely ridiculous, and the killer himself, probably the goofiest part of the entire movie. The Slasher, played by former WWE star James Preston Rogers, definitely has an intimidating physique, I'll give him that.
You're a big guy.
But everything else about this character is so ridiculous and try-hard. He feels like the edgy high schooler who grew his hair out, wears a trench coat, and superficially practices Satanism just to get attention. Every time he's on the screen, he never even approached scary for me.
Ooh, I'm so scared.
Between the goofy deep voice, the costume design, and the over-the-top kills, I just couldn't help but smile and laugh every time he popped up. And I know that wasn't the intention. His motivation doesn't make any sense. There's zero explanation for his obsession with Jane, barely any reasoning behind his satanic rituals, and his final plan is some of the dumbest shit I have seen in a while.
Not a great plan.
And that leads into the dialogue. It's either painfully obvious exposition, Jane bluntly explaining her trauma in the most thematically on-the-nose way possible, awkward chatter from a goofy side character that shows up about halfway in the movie, or the Slasher trying his best to sound intimidating, and none of it works. But here's the thing. When a movie commits this hard and starts to go so aggressively over the top, it becomes really hard for me to stay apathetic. At a certain point, I stop rolling my eyes and I start laughing. And that's exactly what happened here, and I will take this over a boring horror movie every single time. Especially once the kills kick in. This movie had a less than $10 million budget, and you can feel it. There are a few nighttime sequences that use practical effects that actually are kind of effective, but you can really tell that the budget ran dry at a certain point.
No more money in the budget.
What? I thought we had Kate Blanchett.
Especially during one axe rampage scene that features some of the worst CGI blood I've seen since The Walking Dead. Between that, a scene in a church confessional, a sequence with a couple broken down on the side of a highway, and just the escalating absurdity of all of these, this went from a boring, poorly executed slasher to a full-blown so bad it's good horror movie that I had a ton of fun with. They even take the extra step of not having the slasher actually kill Jane when he gets the chance. He just throws her around instead of, killing her.
Why won't you die?
And the supporting characters? Outside of Jane and the Slasher, only one really sticks out. Malcolm freaking McDowell.
What?
He chews the scenery so much, it's impossible to ignore him. Every line delivery out of him feels like he's the only one in this movie that actually knew what kind of film he was in. And it made me laugh pretty much every time, even if he's only in the movie for about 5 minutes. So where does that leave it? Look, Psycho Killer is not a good horror movie. It's not scary, it's not smart, it's not nearly as deep as it thinks it is. But as an unintentional comedy, as a midnight watch this with your friends and laugh out loud experience, I had a blast. And so did the rest of the people in my theater. There were chuckles all over the place. If you go in expecting another 7, you're going to leave furious. But if you go in expecting chaotic, low budget, over the top nonsense, you might have just as much fun as I did. But the most unforgivable thing this movie does, they don't use the song Psycho Killer. Not even once. And that's my review of Psycho Killer. Thank you so much for watching. Please comment, leave a like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to be notified whenever I post a new review. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next week for my review of Scream 7.